Adding, she was fine. Subtracting, she was kind of barely okay. And when I took her to the US, that's when they started multiplication. So when you give her the multiplication sign, and she just freaked out. She was like, whoa, this is like too much for me. I was like, what do you mean you don't do multiplication? You're like grade 3. I found a GIQ in, I guess, April 2020 in the middle of COVID. And before this, so I've always been a working mom. My career is investment banking. And when COVID broke out in Hong Kong, I decided to take my daughter to the US. And that's when I realized that she was struggling in math. Because I was on the road with her, I was teaching her every day and frustrated, and she was in grade 3 and she didn't know how to do simple multiplication, which I thought she would have learned in school. So I tried to make her memorize the multiplication table, like how I learned it when I was a child. That didn't work, and she just got frustrated and she didn't want to memorize. I heard that my friends were all sending their kids to this place called Growing IQ, and they all love it. So my friends were like, why don't you try? So I'm like, okay. So I sent Chloe there, and the classes actually are 2 hours long. So at first I thought she would not make it, or she would complain. But after the first day, she was like, oh, it's fine, right? And then the next day, I said, what do you want to do today? Because it's COVID, everything was shut down. And she said, Mom, I want to go back to the math class. And I was like, okay. Because I find in Hong Kong, a lot of times math is taught in a way in a classroom where the teacher script the curriculum, and you basically, the kids will just memorize or try to only sitting there taking in what the teacher's saying, but not really understanding the concepts, right? They teach in silos. Adding is adding, subtracting, multiplying is something totally different, and dividing, is even more scary. The concept of multiplying and adding is just when you have something, you have more of something. But when you do multiplying, you're just doing it faster instead of adding. And when you put these concepts in kids' head, then they're like, oh, it's not that scary. So after going to Growing IQ for, I guess, 2.5 weeks while we were there, she was able to learn multiplication, division, and fractions. And I was so amazed that I was like, wow, what do you guys do here?
We start off with a program called Math, Music and Motion, and that's for children from 2.5 to 4 years of age. And then from 4 years plus, we have our Growing IQ program of levels 1 through till 5. We even have a level 6, which is more project-based. But with Growing IQ, it is more about ability versus age. So when the students are 4 years of age and they come through the door, they will have an assessment, and that assessment tells us a bigger story. So from that assessment, we will be able to identify if students are suitable for level 1 or level 2 or level 3, level 4 or level 5. My work was making me come back, and I was actually panicking a bit because I'm like, I don't want to stop this because this is really working. What do I do? So I said, okay, I'll bring it back to Hong Kong. That was the only option. The mission, I think, for us is to change the way that children learn math, and also change children's attitude towards learning.